What's up YouTube, JankyYGO here. My name is Michael, and in this video we're going to be going over some new cards coming out in Darkwing Blast. And yeah, we're just going to jump right into the first card. It's just a one card thing, and it's pretty neat. It is Upside Down. It's a normal trap card where you add the bottom card of your deck and put it into your hand, and you place one card from your deck on the bottom of your deck. So I'm assuming this is also not a hard once per turn, by the way. You add the bottom card to from your deck to your hand, and you place one card from your deck on bottom. Assuming this is not a translation error where you need a hand, where it means from hand and everything. What this means is it sets up for your next Upside Down. So, like, and there are cards to kind of rig this. So if you're playing like a combo deck and you just want to make use of it, not this won't be meta relevant, mind you, what I'm about to say. But you can make Saryuja and yeah, this and do it that way. But this adds the bottom card. It's kind of like drawing a card, and then you get to put any card from your deck on bottom, I guess. But I don't know. It's an interesting card. Is all I'm gonna say. I don't think it's a very good card, but I think it's very interesting. So yeah, we're gonna move on to some of the remaining cards of Dark Wing Blast. So we got a Spirit Link monster or Spirit Pendulum monster with that's level 5. It's a Wind Warrior and has 2400 attack, 1000 defense with a scale of 9. And it says that this card, if a monster is pendulum summoned, you return it to the. So yeah, that's kind of what a lot of these pendulum spirit monsters do. They allow you to pendulum summon the monsters, return the pendulum scale to the hand, maybe normal summon, stuff like that. This card normal summon, you can return as many of your cards in the same column as this card to in your pendulum zone. As many of your cards in the same column as your cards in the pendulum zone as possible to the hand. Then you can add a monster of 2400 attack, 1000 defense from your deck to your hand, except for itself. Once turned into your phase, it bounces back. Okay, so its wording is confusing, but basically you get to bounce cards in the same column as this card, equal to the number of cards in your pendulum zone. So for example, if you were to, let's say, pendulum summon, bounce this back and everything, you have it normal summoned, place a different card in the pendulum zone, tribute summon, and tribute summon it into the column that your opponent has two things in, like two cards in, like a monster and a back row, or a monster in the extra monster zone and a regular one, or something like that. You can bounce both those cards back because you have two in the pendulum zone. That's kind of what this means. I don't think this card's very good meta wise. As a spirit player or someone who used to play a lot of spirits, I don't think this card is even good for spirits, although it is searchable. But yeah, the ad effect might be pretty good. I just don't know how or what monsters off the top of my head is 2400 attack, 1000 defense, other than the monarchs themselves, the normal monarchs. So other than those, I don't really know off the top of my head. But yeah, it's not a very good card. Laughing Puffin the Jester Bird is a level 4 Darkwing Beast effect monster with 1000 attack and 1700 defense. At this, if there is a face-up spell or trap on the field, you special summon this from your hand. Its second effect states you contribute one winged beast and target one face-up spell or trap to return to the hand. You cannot activate uh, cards or effects with that name for the rest of the turn. This is a quick effect if all the monsters you control are winged beasts. So the idea, right? If you want to bounce your opponent's thing, you can. However, if you need to bounce your own, you can't activate that card in the same thing to prevent like multiple activation cards and stuff like that. This is not very good, to say the least. But yeah, uh, it's a free special summon. That's the good news. This can be a quick effect. That's the other okay news. The problem is that there's not as many decks that would need this as you would think. But yeah. I don't think this is a very good card. So, Doom Tune is a level 3 fire flip effect tuner with 500 attack and 1500 defense. You can only use one of the first and second effects per turn and only once that turn. So you have to choose which effect you want. Flip, you can declare one level between 1 and 9. This card becomes the declared level until the end of turn. Second says during the main phase, if this card was flipped face up, you can target one other monster on the field immediately after this card or after this effect resolves. Secret summon using only that monster and this card. So this card is bad, and because you only get one of these effects, you have to wait till the next turn, the next main phase, to use its Syncro summon effect. It requires way too much time to set up, as well as this only works until the end of the turn. So if you need the correct level and stuff like that, you flip it up on your turn, sure, you could do it then. But if your opponent attacks into it and you save this card, the fact that this, I guess you could use this effect. But if your opponent attacks into this, you still can't use the second effect until the main phase, and they're probably getting rid of your other monster. But this does say target one other monster on the field, which means you can use opponents. But then that requires relying on your opponent, and most of the time, relying on your opponent is not a very good strategy. So overall, I think this card is pretty bad. And yeah, we're gonna move on to Psychic Rover. It's a level 2 psychic effect monster, 0 attacks, 700 defense. Worth noting, level 2, that's important for splites. Psychic means E-Telly target as well. If this card is special summon, you can roll a 6-sided die, and if the result is 1 or 6, you can destroy up to 2 cards on the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can roll a 6-sided die, and if if the result is 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can special summon this card. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck while this card summoned this way it's face up in the zone. So, in my honest opinion, this card isn't very good. It's way too luck reliant. The reason why something like Snipe Hunter was good for its destruction effect is because the game was much slower back then, and on top of that, you were hitting it 2/3 of the time, right? 2/3 of the time, you were destroying a card. This one, however, while you're destroying 2 cards, you're only hitting it 1/3 of the time. So a 33% chance of destroying 2 cards versus a 66.66666% chance to destroy 1 card on for the cost of discarding a card back in the day. Also, the second effect being a blocking you out of the monster or the extra deck is very bad as well. I get that you can play this in some sort of like dice roll deck and just to have fun. And if you want to do that, absolutely, this card is kind of perfect for that. But, you're not going to get much meta use out of this card in any capacity, even if it is a level 2 that can destroy up to 2 cards. It is worth noting that none of the cards, this card's effects are a hard once per turn, but I don't think that matters. Or even once per turn at all. But I guess that you could tribute summon over this, and then if you roll this, you get a special summon it. The best 2 out of 3. Next up, we got Dark Seed of the Deceased. Okay, it's a level 8 Dark Plant effect monster with 100 attack, 2000 defense, and second effect is a hard once per turn. First effect says, unless it is the battle phase, send this card to the graveyard at the start of the battle phase. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one plant monster from your hand or face up in the field to special summon this card, then special summon one monster from either graveyard, but send all monsters special summoned by this effect to the graveyard at the end of the battle phase. So the idea behind this card is easily to, you summon it or you throw it in the graveyard, and when your opponent summons out a bunch of monsters to try to OTK you. You can activate this at the start of battle phase, maybe ditch a plant from your hand in order to summon out 2 more blockers so that you don't just die. So in in my opinion, this card, while there will be times for more casual players where this card might save their life, I think as a whole though, this card doesn't really do as much as it needs to be a very good card. This second effect right here, or this first effect, is actually like the big downside, because if you are to summon this and it survived and everything, let's say it survived battle phase, it just sends itself to the graveyard and you can't do anything with the card. Otherwise, you could make an argument that this could be a niche level 8 or rank 8 monster that you could throw into a deck for plants. Like the Rika deck would like this card. If it wasn't for this first effect, it really wouldn't mind it. The problem is though is that it does send itself and the monsters it summons back. You take out this line and this one, and you have a potentially kind of annoying card that I don't think would be meta relevant, but would be pretty neat in certain decks. Being level 8 also would help the case because you could play things like Trade In as well. But yeah, overall it was almost there. It's a neat card, but it's not anything to really write home about. Omerta Palopo is a level 4 Dark Beast Warrior effect with 1400 attack and 1400 defense. Okay. Good typing. Good attribute. Okay stats. Stats don't matter as much in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. First effect says, if this card is normal or special summon, equip the top card of your deck to this card as a face down spell card that gives it 500 attack. During the end phase, if your opponent calls the original type of card monster spell trap by this card's first effect, and if they call it correctly, you send this card to graveyard. Otherwise, discard 1 card randomly from their hand, and if you do, return this card to the hand. Okay. So, this card doesn't do anything. Let's just get that out of the way. It doesn't do really anything worth talking about. A fun thing that you can do, I guess, is technically you get to mill the top card of your deck with the effect if you do it right, because if you have like you special summon a level 4, say Photon Thrasher, right? You normal summon this, you use its effect, you put the card face down, you don't know what it is, they don't know what it is, and everything. Then you can overlay that card's gonna get sent to the graveyard and maybe get an effect. So that's pretty cool. That other than that, its second effect is way too gimmicky and all of that. I don't think it's worth using to try to get that whole discard a random card from their hand effect. So yeah, especially if it's gonna 2-for-1 you. It's gonna 2-for-1 you no matter what, because if they call it right, this did nothing and just sends itself to the graveyard. If this card, if they call it wrong, you got a card out of their hand, which is good, but you still lose this. This card still comes back to your hand, and the card gets sent to the graveyard anyway. So yeah, I don't think this is a very good card. Plus, they're gonna call monster a lot of the time, and that's probably correct anyway because most decks have mainly monsters. So reincarnating Jamison Calico, level 3 Dark Zombie Syncro Tuner. It has 16 attack, 1200 defense, and requires, well, it's generic, so it's a tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. First and second effect of this card are hard once per turn each. During your opponent's main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolve Synchro Summon using monsters you control, including this card. Second effect says that this card is in your graveyard. You can target one other Syncro monster in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck, and if you do summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. This card is a pretty cool Syncro tuner. In my honest opinion, I think that this effect is pretty good, so you can summon it off of Halki Fibrax and then also immediately Syncro summon. And in this effect, once that Syncro monster goes to the graveyard that you summoned, you can get this back, maybe make a rank 3, like Levier or something like that, or you can use this to Syncro again. So this is a pretty decent card nonetheless, and I think that this is a decent, not like it's not the best, I will say it is not the best Halki Fibrax target to summon off of it, but it is a decent one. If you get the Halk, you won't get the second effect. So if you summon this off Halk, you won't get the second effect. Just keep that in mind. I misspoke earlier when I said that. However, I do think that the first effect, you summon this and everything, and then you can Synchro summon to that. But I think the Shooting Star Riser Dragon that is limited is a better option because it foolishes and it can be a level 3 if you need it. Well, I don't think this card is a bad card either, because my second thing is if you make this normally and then Synchro summon and climb up to like as you're playing some type of wild Synchro deck, maybe you're playing a Quasar deck and you just need a level 3 tuner Synchro, then you can, you go and combo off and are able to do to summon this back and do it again. And there's a lot of really cool situations that I can think of off the top of my head where that could be useful. As there's the Blackwing level 5, that when it's summoned, you can summon another copy of itself and it can summon itself back and stuff like that. And there's a really cool stuff like that that you can do with this. So, in my opinion, I do like this card. It probably won't be meta relevant, but it is a neat tool to have. So, we got more cards. I'm going to stop going in on every card and elaborating why I think they're so good because we still have a lot more cards to talk about, I think. So we got a rank 6 Volo, the Doom Originator Vassal Dragon. I like the artwork. Level 6, or rank 6 Dark Zombie effect. XEs, it's a 2400 attack, 1300 defense, and 2 or more level 6s. So the second effect is a hard once per turn. 1. Your monsters you control gain 100 attack for each card in your opponent's graveyard. 2. During the quick effect, you can target one card. In your opponent's graveyard, you can detach 1 or 2 materials and activate this based on the number attached. Shuffle. So if it's just 1, you shuffle it back into the deck. If it's 2, you can special summon it to your field in face up attack position or face up defense position or face down position. Otherwise, set it to your field. So if it's a monster, you special summon it. Otherwise, if it's a spell trap card, you get to set it. So here's the good thing. I'm not going to go too big into detail like I did on some other cards, but here's the good news about this card. It is pretty good at disrupting your opponent. When your opponent goes to revive a card or something like that, you can, if they target, you can use the first effect to either shuffle it back in to like for monster, or you can summon it to your side of the field if it has a relevant effect for you. And as for a spell or trap card, a good situation I could see that in is if they don't really do that, you can special summon you can get a good spell or trap card on the end phase if they like just are playing like a set 5 pass deck. So overall, I do think this is a decent card. But I don't think this is like a game breaking card. So we got Calamity upon the Mediterranean world, or upon the hidden city. Continue spell card. Monsters, your opponent cannot target face down monsters you control with card effects. Monsters you control that were flipped face up while this card was on the field gain 1500 attack and defense. If this card is sent from the field, from the spell trap card zone. Okay, if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one monster and special summon it in face down defense position. So, while this is not direct Subterra support, it does support the theme. That's what the artwork is referencing, and it even confirms that this is the hidden city getting destroyed. Overall, it's a pretty neat card, but I think the one of the cooler cards that talk about is the true bamboo sword. So we're getting even more of these cards. Bamboos are a series of cards that started with a joke card called the Broken Bamboo Sword that was originally the worst equipped spell in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! That they kind of built a deck around, or a bunch of theme around. That so Broken Bamboo Sword, all it does is had the equipped monster gain 0 attack. So what does this card do then? Well, the True Bamboo Sword also says the equipped monster gains 0 attack, and if the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you can destroy all monsters they control. And then the second effect says if this card is sent to the field or to the graveyard, you can equip one bamboo equip spell from your deck to a face-up monster on the field, except for True Bamboo Sword. So if you're wondering how you get the second effect off, I believe the bamboo sword that normally searches, if it's sent to the graveyard, also has an effect where if you have it and the broken and like another bamboo sword card, you can bounce a card to give the monster to be the ability to attack directly. Otherwise, there also are just cards, monsters that just allow you to attack directly that aren't very good usually. But what's something like this, if you're playing a more casual deck, maybe you just get into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you don't know how to really play and everything, and just playing with what you got, you can kind of build a fun strategy against your friends with this if you play like really low powered Yu-Gi-Oh. Overall, um, it's fine. Uh, Not as amazing as some of the other bamboo swords in my opinion. But we're gonna move to Similar Art Fiends. So it is a normal trap card, one card for this name per turn. Neither player can special summon monsters of the same type, ritual, fusion, synchro, X either link as monsters they control for the rest of the turn. And if you do not control more than one of each of these, all of these that you currently control gain 100. So the idea behind this card is to lock them out of summoning a bunch of links or a bunch of rituals or a bunch of synchros and stuff like that. Which there are situations where that could be very good. An example would be against the Tiara Element deck, where they're mainly gonna summon fusions. So, in response to, say, trying to fusion summon, if they already have a fusion out, you just flip this card and then they can't fusion summon. Dimensional Barrier is better in that case, but it is something that you can do. Plus, this is actually searchable because it's an Archfiend card. So yeah, um, it's not an amazing card. It is a very niche card that you can probably get some people with. But overall, it's pretty niche. And yeah, we got our last card, Starcrossed Meeting, as our normal trap card. Well, our last card for this set. We have the exciting cards to talk about. Reveal one ritual monster. Add one ritual monster with the same level but a different name from your deck to your hand. As the first effect, and the second effect states you manage this card from your graveyard, then send one ritual spell from your graveyard or hand to the graveyard. This effect becomes that when ritual summoning. So the point of the second effect is mainly to ritual summon on your opponent's turn. In my honest opinion, I don't think this card's very good. Most ritual decks aren't going to want a bunch of trap cards. They're a very fast deck and everything like that, where they micromanage their resources pretty well. So yeah, I don't think most ritual decks want this. So we're gonna talk about the last cards, and they're the most exciting in my honest opinion. It is Dark World support. So SDR 13. So from the structure deck 13. Genta, Gatekeeper of Dark World, or Gateman of Dark World, is a level 4 Dark Fiend. You can only special summon it once per turn. You can discard this card and add one Gaze of the Dark World from your deck to your hand. If this card becomes banished, you can control you control a Dark World card, you can special summon this card. So the idea behind this card is you discard it to add their field spell, which lets you banish a fiend and discard a fiend, then draw a card. So this gets you that, and then it can summon itself back by just activating the gates. So it sets out the gates by itself as well. This card is very, very good, and I wouldn't be surprised if people started playing this. I'd actually be more surprised if people didn't play this card, because the field spell is actually still very good, because it's not a hard once per turn, it's a soft once per turn as well. So you can, if you get multiple field spells, you can keep drawing cards. Next up, Pearl Hermit of the Dark World, a level 1 fiend with a 300 attack, 300 defense. And this card is discarded by a card effect. You can target one Dark World monster in your graveyard, except for itself, special summon it to either field. Then if it was discarded by an opponent's card effect, special summon one of your fiends that is banished in your hand or in either graveyard. Or graveyard to either field. No, in your graveyard. Okay. I don't think this one is as good in my honest opinion. Like, sure, you're going to be discarding your cards a lot in Dark World and all that, like, but I honestly don't think reviving them serves as much purpose as discarding or getting more card advantage. But it's not a bad card either. Most of the Dark Worlds, though, that you're going to be playing do special summon themselves out. So the only real reason to have a card like this and play like a card like this is to either summon a card to your opponent's field to get them with something, because I'm pretty sure one of them makes referring to controller makes the opponent discard, so you summon it to their field, then they have to activate it and makes you discard to get the other effect. But honestly, I don't think this card is as good as some of the other ones. What this card is, it's Dark World Library. It's a continuous spell card. Its first and second effects are hard ones for turn each. So its first effect says during the main phase you can discard one Dark World monster, and if you do, all Dark World monsters you control gain attack equal to discard's monster level times 100 until the end of this turn. Second effect says if a monster whose original type is Fiend is discarded by a card effect of a Dark World card or an opponent's card, even during the damage step, you discard one card to draw 2 cards. This includes its own effect, because it's not a hard once per turn, and this is not a cost to discard. So, overall, I think this is a good card for the deck. I think this is some of the better support, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing some of the Dark World support, because this deck is, while a lot of people hate this deck, I find it kind of fun to play. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. And if you want to send me any cool deck profiles or replays, you can send them to JankyYGO at gmail.com. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.